From day one, we are told who we should be, how to live, and what's acceptable. Before we even have a chance to discover ourselves, our society has already drawn those lines for us. But what happens when those lines are keeping us from knowing and embracing who we truly are? Welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox, a podcast about unpacking and unlearning everything that's kept you from living as your true self. Through honest conversations about your internal emotional landscape, sexuality, coming out later in life, relationships, and the journey to self-acceptance, we break free from the boxes we never chose. Hello, and welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. Today is episode number 52, which is significant for me because when I set out 1 year ago to start this podcast, I said I am going to record one episode every week for a year. And today I can say I have done that. I started the podcast on the anniversary of the first year of my father's passing. And this is the 52nd week that I am producing an episode for all of you out there that have joined in at some point along the way. Today, I want to talk about how much I've learned on this particular journey. When I set out to launch a podcast, I had no idea how to do that. I did not know how to use the platforms and the sound and the editing, any of it. It was completely foreign to me. And maybe over the course of the year, you've noticed things that were a little shoddy at first have started to come together a little bit more, because each step of my journey, each week that I've been here to speak on some topic about unboxing yourself, I have learned something new and I have stepped more into this. I'm not sure what's coming next, but I'm here today to say that is part of this journey. I'm not sure what's coming next. That leads to a lot of the things I talk about. Expectations, uncertainty, our emotional systems and how much they want to know things and how sometimes we just don't know. When I stepped onto this journey of doing the podcast, I had an idea, which was I would bring women on that wanted some support and work through some of what they were struggling with here on the podcast. And that would then ripple out into the world to anybody else who was struggling with something similar. That was my initial intention. That was my initial idea. I can tell you, I went back and counted. I have had 31 episodes where I have had a guest on with me. Not all of them needed help. Not all of them were looking to work through things. And in fact, I found it relatively difficult to find people that would come on and talk to me about whatever it was they were going through, even if their name could be changed and their image would never be shown. The idea of coming on to something that will be public facing and speaking about such vulnerable topics, I learned was not something that many women were open to. And I still had 31 episodes out of 52 where I had guests. So that left me a number of episodes where I did not have guests. And I had to figure out, what am I doing? Because I want to put this podcast out every week. And so I decided to do some of my episodes just as solo podcasts. And what I found was that I actually really enjoyed being able to have a platform after 5 years of doing this work as the lesbian curiosity coach, working with women coming out later in life. And everything I do is either in 1 minute or 3 minute clips because of the social media platforms and how they organize themselves. So if I have an idea, I have to get that whole idea presented in a full way in 3 minutes or less, which was a huge challenge for me. That was a challenge that followed the initial challenge, which was, wait, I have to speak on social media. I have to show my face. I have to be face forward and voice forward and put myself out into the world that way. This is terrifying. That was me 5 years ago. Now, this past year was, I have to speak on some topic for, some length of time every week for a year. Yes. And I did that. And I want to, again, just emphasize that there was uncertainty, there was discomfort, there were some expectations about how it would work that didn't exactly turn out the way I thought. And I'm still really proud of this project, of this body of work for women who are coming out later. I'm proud to say that there have been over 20,000 downloads of this podcast around the entire world in countries that I actually have never heard of. I also loved being able to have a platform where I could speak for more than 3 minutes. And then I also learned things about myself over the course of this year. One of them is that I'm okay with imperfection. I just wanted this podcast to get out there. And it took me a number of months for things to kind of fall in line and for friends of mine to say, hey, this sounds a little off. Can I fix this for you and whatnot? So thank you. Those of you that are listening in that did step in and help me along the way, I appreciate you so much. And that had I been waiting for some perfect moment where I knew everything in advance, I might not have ever started this project. So inspiration for all of you out there that are waiting for the perfect moment to make a change, to share your sexuality, to come out to somebody you love, or to even come out to yourself. There is no perfect moment. You have this one time through, and if you don't grab the reins and hop on the horse and gallop off, time is going by. You've got one life. What I found in my solo episodes here was that I have a lot to say about the way we've been conditioned as women in our society and how our true power is stolen from us the moment we are born female by these constructs in our society that have been set up either through religion or through the hetero-patriarchy. And because I have lived through so much of that having happened to me, right? I was imprisoned for many years inside of the systems of our society. And even after I came out, I still lived many years feeling very imprisoned by choices I had made before I was fully conscious and really knowing what I was choosing. I was choosing things because I was told that's what I was supposed to do. So it was a long, painful awakening for me over almost 2 decades, even after I came out as gay. I have a lot of rage. I have a lot of feelings and a lot of passion about women waking up before you commit to things that are going to change your entire life. Women waking up to get an education, find a career, find something that's going to fulfill you outside of the fulfillment of motherhood. And I know all about that fulfillment. I have 3 kids that I love dearly, and they're the most important things in the world to me. And I also know how disempowered I felt when I was a stay-at-home mother and I realized that I was gay and I was fully financially dependent on my male partner and had to live through a very difficult disentanglement that kept me tied for almost 2 decades to him because of choices I made before I was fully conscious. By doing this podcast, I also learned that I am an activist. One of my listeners, and also a client who has since become a friend, said to me, "Girl, you're an activist." And I was like, holy shit, really? because I never thought of myself that way. I think of myself as a healer, not as an activist, but maybe I'm both. And that felt really good. I learned that straight folks really enjoy my podcast too, and that they get something from it. They walk away from this podcast learning something about themselves as women in the world in relationship either to themselves or to men and in society. They walk away with knowledge. And I absolutely love that, because I can tell you, when I set out to do this project, my goal was to speak to women who are coming out later. That is the population of women, the subset of the LGBTQ community that I have focused on for the last many years. But straight women are walking away with knowledge and new information. And I absolutely love that. I also learned that some of the things that I say and the topics that I speak to, for some women, feel like an actual punch in the gut. And it causes so much discomfort for them that they reach out to me to let me know I have triggered something. Many of these women then have joined the BiLife community or have started working with me one-on-one because I hit a nerve or I punched something in them that had been stuffed for a lifetime and they could not sit with it anymore. I kind of shook it awake. And I love that. I also learned that so many listeners feel reflected in my stories, in my ideas, in the things I like to teach about. And these listeners know that they are not alone. And that is so important to me. And I want to share that in doing this podcast, I also feel less alone. After a lifetime of navigating my life because of my own history with hypervigilance, hyperindependence, being a highly sensitive person, being an introvert, and then coming to a place in life where both of my parents are gone and I am essentially an adult orphan. So that aloneness is intensified, knowing that my stories and my shares and ideas are going to travel around the globe every week, aided me in my own healing journey and realizing I also am not alone. So thank you to those of you out there that have been listening in. Little did you know that you too were healing me. We never know what's next. I say this all the time. From one minute to the next, things can change before our eyes. Life is not endless. What is it that you are holding onto that is keeping you away from living your most aligned, authentic truth? Do you know? Do you want help unpacking it? Do you want community? Would you like a program that could help you work through unboxing yourself from the constructs we have learned we need to stay inside of and small? Do you want to do the work? If you do, you know where to find me, Samantha at unboxyoursexuality.com. If you're not following this podcast and you have enjoyed it, please hit follow now so that when the next episode comes, you can listen in. Thank you for spending this time with me on Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more folks find these conversations. If you're ready to unbox from something that's keeping you stuck, I would love to support you. You can find the application to the show at unboxyoursexuality.com. Let's stay connected. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Lesbian Curiosity Coach. Give me a follow and join the conversation. Remember, we only have this one time through. Why not unbox yourself and let your true self shine in all its beautiful glory?